Hey, everybody. I've missed you. Oh, today's podcast is something I've been looking forward to. You know, if you've been following the show, that we talk about people or ideas or both that are successful, interesting, and awesome. And today we got the hat trick. We got all three. This guy is not only one of the world's top motivational speakers, he's not only fantastic at business, he's not only the kind of speaker who is literally a role model for many dozens of people. He's pulled many of us through and helped us do our jobs. But he's also started his own nonprofit. And my take, I don't know, but my take is that lots of people say they have a foundation and they say they have a nonprofit, but it's like a side hustle, or it's not to diss them, but maybe it's not so big. Well, no, you're about to meet a guy who has created an organization called Together We Can Change the World, and he's doing it. Aren't you curious? Don't you want to know who we're talking about? Sure you do. Everyone say hi to CSP, Scott Friedman. Scott.
I wasn't sure you were talking about me. I'm like, oh my gosh, is there two guests on the show today?
Yeah, that was a hell of an intro. If you're keeping track. That was pretty good.
Great to be on your show. I know we've been trying to do this for a while, and it's an honor to be with you this morning.
I do want you to appreciate that intro next time you're on someone else's show, and you're like, yeah, whatever. Brad did it better.
He said it Friedman, maybe you can get the name right. But yeah.
Let's start with this. Thank you. I'm a big kid now. I'm 57 and I'm pretty good at my job, but you were one of the very early influences. You were one of the very early people who said, oh, you can do this. And you have taken dozens of my calls when I say, Scott, I think I might have messed up, or what do I do about this, or how does that work? And you're always willing to mentor and encourage. And oddly, that's kind of where my work is right now, is an encouragement. So how about that? Thanks for being awesome.
Well, I feel much better for the calls that I didn't take now.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right, so anyone who wants to learn about your speaking business, they can go to scottfriedman.net, I think. scottfriedman.net. Yep. But yes, that's not the topic today. You, for some crazy reason, thought you could change the world, and you're kind of proving it to be true. Can you tell us about Together We Can Change the World?
Yeah, it is kind of a grandiose name of a foundation, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah, it really should be called like, we're gonna try.
And you don't have to change. I mean, even if you change it that much, it's still, you're changing the world, right? So it's just how you look at it.
That's true. That's true. You didn't say by what factor will change the world.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Gosh, where do I begin?
Well, what is it? What is it?
So Together We Can Change the World. Our mission is to educate and empower less fortunate children and women in Southeast Asia. So we have about 20 projects in 6 Southeast Asian countries. And I think what I love best about it is I get a chance to hang out with my buddies like you. We do 2 speaker tours a year, where the goal is we match the communities, the business communities in these different countries, with the causes that we serve, to try to bring awareness and raise money for those causes. And it's a great chance to spend 10 or 11 days with buddies, speakers, authors from around the world in a kind of a mastermind type setting, where we get to know each other a little bit better. And when you're coming from a place of service, a lot of the other things are put aside that may not make relationships quite as rosy. So
does that mean you have fewer ego problems because everyone's?
Yeah, I remember we got a call once from a friend of mine that says, he goes, "Hey, my staff just told me I needed to go on one of your trips for the." Well, that's interesting.
Wow, I can't wait to spend 11 days with you.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so how long will it take for the therapy to take place before we can really enjoy you on this trip?
Yeah.
Yes, it is amazing when you're coming from that place that we're all on the same footing, and we're there to serve. And so, and then the support for the work that we're doing from the stage is more seems more real and authentic because we want each other to be better because we're there in service, and if we can be better, then we're going to raise more money and we're going to change the world in a bigger way.
All right. Well, let's break it down because I think you created as many questions as you answered. So you're taking one. You have a foundation, or is it a what?
Yeah,
I don't know.
it's a foundation, yeah, and
Foundation.
we're actually now based in Colorado. So
As part of that, one of the many things you do is take two trips of 11-ish professional speakers on, but you don't just go. You speak in front of audiences. Your group of
yes,
people.
yeah. So over
What's that about?
I've been speaking in Southeast Asia now for late '90s. So gosh, I mean, like close to it's crazy how many years they pile up quickly, don't they? Um, so yeah, so in those years, and especially when I was president of NSA, had the great fortune of doing that in 2004, 2005. One of my big projects for the year was the Global Speaker Summit in Singapore. We had 300 speakers from around the world that came for the very first one, and and in putting that together, uh, really reached out to a lot of promoters, and it was a celebration of the industry. That was the purpose of the Global Speaker Summit at that time, was really to
Yep.
bring the industry together to raise the value of professional speaking around the world. And so in putting that together, it created a lot of or deepened a lot of relationships with promoters in Southeast Asia. And so when we started this foundation, it made it easier to reach out to at these relationships, these promoters and hotels that I'm pretty good at hotel trades for my own business, and so just kind of move that right over to the to Together We Can Change the World. So we have hotel sponsors when we go. So we most of the time we don't pay for hotel rooms. We have a sponsor, and so the promoters, like the, I think of Malaysia as kind of probably our best country now. That what we've built in the last 7 or 8 years. We have a partner over there called Leaderonomics. Roshan Theron is the CEO. Great guy, a real social activist, and so we had 550 after COVID actually last year in our audience, and so so we all get a chance to get up in front and do our you know to play to the theme, whatever that theme may be. Um, and
Wait.
so,
So you'll have those 500 people will come in, and then it's like the Together We Can Change the World tour where you put each of the speakers up a
yeah,
little bit.
yeah. So in that tour, so last year's tour, we were in Singapore. We started in Singapore, Malaysia, and then Cambodia. In the winter tour, we'll usually just do the Philippines. We used to do Myanmar. We're not doing Myanmar at this particular time, but we have promoters in all those countries, partners, sponsors in those countries, and so we every speaker that comes has to raise $1,500. So they do a fundraiser because we want them to be engaged in that process, and then they give their time. So I remember talking to one of my buddies, telling him, "You got to raise $1,500. You give your time. Hopefully we'll have hotel stays for you." He goes, he says, "So people sign up for these tours?" He goes, maybe it's not for me, And yeah, yeah, it's people's give back, but then when they come on these tours, one of our taglines is "The life you change may be your own." It really does.
Oh,
It's a yeah, it's wonderful lesson in perspective and gratitude on these tours. Yeah, and it's great to be with your buddies in that kind of way. So that's yeah, and so then in order of the cause part of it. Um, that happens organically from there's a couple things. You have to be religiously inclusive to be one of our causes. You have to be fiscally responsible. You have to want to create sustainability in your organizations. You have to be totally transparent in how you raise all your money. So if you don't want to open your books to us,
oh,
then you're not going to be one of our partners. So and you have to have English speaking leadership, and basically you have to have passion for the sustainability you're trying to create in those communities. So it's the one of the hardest things we do is get rid of some of our causes because they won't follow. It's usually the fiscal responsibility or the transparency that gets them in trouble. So
And help us know what you're talking about. But I know you support orphanages, and I know you build water wells. Is that you do? But all
yeah,
this
I
is
mean,
about kids and women. So help us understand what you're doing.
yeah, I think we've been now started in 2008, so we're it's, what, 15 years now. Um, what we've learned in that time is that the world doesn't need another orphanage, especially in Southeast Asia. I hate to say that, a lot of these orphanages are just a place to drop off a poor child that that they may have one parent or not, where they just need, you get better care at an orphanage than you do at home. And that's just one less mouth you have to feed. And so, and that doesn't, in the overall, in the grand scheme of thing, that's not really going to make that community or that family better. So what we've learned in our time is not to build orphanages, but build computer centers, teach teach skills where kids can learn design, they can learn marketing, graphic design, uh, like a sophisticated software like AutoCAD, where it's very intuitive, where they can create art and get on to Fiverr and Upwork and make money so that they can support their families and their community. So that's really we spend more money now building computer centers. So we build a lot of wells because wells can completely change your life for $500. And now you can have a vegetable garden. You don't have to be fetching water from far away all the time and spending a fair amount of your money that you don't have to begin with on water. So that is one of the things that does make the families and the communities in a position to be more sustainable and to support. But really, it's giving the sustainable skills that to that are going to educate them and give them something that they can use and teach and make money for their family.
Uh, this doesn't sound related, so stay curious. One of our peers, Nito Cobain, is a fantastic professional speaker. Now he's a president at a college, and he markets heavily to professional speakers. And I know he does that strategically. It makes me think, Scott Friedman, that you are taking these, they're not eco tours, they're, I don't know, foundation tours, and you're picking professional speakers. Is there, am I right that there's a reason that you're doing that?
Well, it's I think I'm a firm believer that whatever we do in life, our careers are tools to create the life we want to lead, a chance to hang out with the people that we love, and an opportunity to make a difference in whatever unique way you want to make a difference in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, hanging out with people I love, I mean, like attracts like. I mean, I attract people into my life that have an abundance philosophy, that want to do good in the world, and so just to hang out with them for 10 days or 11 days in Southeast Asia, speaking and drinking beers at a local pub and watching Janice Danfield, have a beer and then get up with a band and take over, you know, and and then to me that's a fun night.
Yeah.
So yeah, we all have 365 days a year to put on the calendar, and those two tours are going to be 22 of my favorite days of the
Yeah.
year. So in strategic, I mean that's where I've chosen to play basically, and and it's fairly easy to do because I've been in the speaking business now for 37 years, and I've done a lot of global speaking over those 37 years. So it's pretty easy to tap into, and they're my buddies. I mean, I've got lots of friends in Singapore and Malaysia and Philippines and Thailand, and so how fun
Yeah.
to reach out and say, hey, you wanna spend 11 days together, and do some good and have some fun, and a lot of them come because they want to open up those markets too. Um,
Oh,
be- yeah, so yeah, and every once in a while, that's a little bit they're more driven that way. But then usually what happens is, and they're like, wow, this is kind of cool way to open up those markets.
yeah.
Once in a while, they're like a little bit too focus on those markets, but that doesn't happen very often.
All right, so I'm going to talk to my listeners now about you. Pretend like you're not here.
Okay. No, 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 no.
One of the reasons Scott is truly one of the most influential speakers out there. When you talk to speakers about who are you learning from, who has influenced you, who got you started, Scott Friedman comes up all the time. So he's a heavy hitter, and it's fun to see you kind of rely on that goodwill you've built to do good. That's pretty fun. But the other thing I wanted to ask you about, I imagine some of the listeners hear you talk about abundance philosophy and this mentality of service, and they just go like, "Oh, gag me! No one is like that. No, there are no humans that really believe that crap the way he's talking about it. He sounds like a Care Bear." You're not. This is actually Scott Friedman. But what would you say if I said, I'm sure there are listeners who are going like, "Oh, motivational speaker, mumbo jumbo, whatever." You got to come back to that.
Uh, well, it's one of your questions, pre-show questions, was who's influenced you. So I was very touched early on by Cabot Robert, who did have that abundance mentality, that philosophy.
And you got to tell us who Cabot Robert is.
So Cabot Robert is the founder of the National Speakers Association, um, and I was had the great fortune of actually early on in my career, before my career started, really. That's how early it was. 1984, I saw Cabot speak at a sales professionals group in downtown Denver, and I was president at the time of a sales professionals group out in Southeast Denver, 24 years old, and remember, I was very touched. He had a program called "You Can't Heat an Oven with Snowballs" was his talk. And what I used to do is I used to summarize the speaker's talk in a humorous poem and then read it for the speaker afterwards. And anyway, but I talked to Cabot and said, "Hey, can you come to speak to our sales group tomorrow?" He goes, "The timing could work if said give you a ride to the airport." And so summarized his talk in a poem. And on the way to the airport, he told me I had a unique style and I should become a professional speaker. I didn't realize he said that to everybody. And by the time I figured it all out, it was too late. I had already quit the family business and went to work for a professional speaking company at the time. And so from the very beginning, I mean, Cabot used to send me cassette tapes of encouragement, and he was, and he, Cabot was, and that's how the National Speakers Association was founded on. You give away all your trade secrets. You help everybody be as successful as they can be, and then the the standard of professional speaking is rises, and then everybody makes more money, and you create a bigger size of the pie, and so there's pie for everybody. In fact, the better we all get, the more pie there is. And so I started eating that pie or drinking that Kool-Aid early on in my, I mean, that was, and it's so true. And so so it's maybe mumbo jumbo to some, and the mumbo jumbo that it is to people, it's because that's the way they see the world, through that scarcity lens. And I've had a lot of conversations over the years, coming from the magic world, and um and at first you didn't really believe it. You're like, nah, this is
Yeah. When I first met you, I'm like, no one is like this. People pretend to be like that, but they're not really like that.
So yeah, so I mean, and then then obviously over the years you become like that yourself. Boy, you came kicking and screaming a little bit, but hey, once you
Well, I had a good mentor. I had Scott Friedman.
got on
All right,
board.
but take this through. So you've got this very like even I'm a very sunny, upbeat guy, but compared to you, I'm like a sad sack. You're like off the charts. So somehow you're taking this abundance mentality, this feeling that, a place of service, can't remember the phrase you used, and somehow that leads to doing it, not just talking about it on stages, but you're doing it in Asia. Like, it feels like a straight line to me, but I can't quite picture that line.
Well, together we can change the world is the greatest gift of perspective that you could ever imagine because you know you we you and I are members of the Lucky Gene Club. We're born white, we're born in America. There's a lot of opportunity. We're born into middle class families. I mean, we know where our next meal is coming from. We don't, we have fresh drinking water every morning. And when you spend a lot of time over there raising money for those that don't, I mean, there's just such a gratitude, such an appreciation, and my belief is that if God gives you resources, then it's our responsibility to take care of those that don't have those resources. But that I think, I mean, my my I think I'm a lot like my dad. My dad's happy-go-lucky, very easygoing, and I come from my mom's side of the family is a philanthropist, and there's my dad's coming in the office right now. Isn't that funny? I was just talking about you.
Oh, nice. We're gonna meet Scott Friedman's dad.
Yeah. All right, there. Free, do you want to say hello? We're on a little. That's my dad.
Wait, I
That's
can't
Brad
see him, Scott.
Montgomery. Oh,
Keep
oh, you can't.
keep
Sorry.
swinging. There he is.
Okay.
Hi,
that's
Scott Friedman's dad.
that's his name is Art. We call him Arturo or Freedy is his nickname.
Friedy.
88 years young. He'll be 89 here in a couple months. And
Oh, this is my favorite moment of the podcast.
so there you go. So he's had a big influence on me over the years, and that's
Friedy, you must have been a good dad because you got a good kid.
this is where you say you're right. Okay. Come on, you said you want more coffee. And that's Annie, and that's our lead caregiver, and
Hi, Annie.
she's a godsend. Takes good care of my dad.
For sure, godsend. Nice meeting you.
That's Brad and the audience. Okay.
But let me just stop here. Do you need to go? Are you okay?
No, I'm good. He's just
Okay.
using the restroom.
Okay. I love this because you and I were talking before when we started recording. Sometimes podcasts that my guests are very scripted and everything just feels too organized, and I don't love it. And the fact that we're talking to your dad, that's a good day to me.
Yeah, it's fun. I spend a lot of time here actually, and I've done a fair amount of virtual programs here, and he does pop in from occasion. And the first one you're kind of like,
You're
Dad,
like, all right, yeah,
and then it just becomes like, my favorite part of the show was when your dad came in.
yeah.
Sometimes they'll talk, and anyway, so yeah, I mean, it, that's real life, so good stuff.
I don't remember what we were talking about. I think we were talking about how you owe me money. I can't remember. Is that one?
And then I think we went to I paid you, but I overpaid you, and you're going to pay me back some of it.
I want to get back to. I'm going to rephrase the same question I asked you before.
Okay.
I was saying, I think there are skeptics in the world who hear the type of openness and your sort of motivational speaker talk, and they tune out and they go like, "That's not real." And I think that happens not only when you're on stage, but probably just in life, and also when you're building this foundation. How do you deal with those people mentally? Do you ignore them? Do you have to deal with them physically, meaning you have to interact with them and say you're wrong because, or I'm trying to win you over because?
I equate it and see if you relate to this. So when you're in front of a group and you're looking at an audience, you have the one in the audience that's kind of shaking their heads and kind
Yeah,
of like, man,
I hate that guy.
Brad Montgomery's no shaking it up and down. Well,
Oh, 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 okay,
I'm talking about that guy first, and then I'm going to talk about the other guy.
okay.
Yeah, like, oh man, that Brad Montgomery, he is sharp. Wow, he is the funniest guy I've ever heard in my entire life. He has ideas. Wow, I wish he could move into our house.
Right.
That's the guy you're going to stay focused on, right? There's another guy. Early on in our careers, I think we tried to convert the other guy, right? The guy that was like, oh man, what is he talking about? He's so full of BS, right?
Right.
But, I mean, I think it's the same way in life. You focus on those that get it or want to get it, and the other ones, then that's really, we all have a limited amount of time on this planet. So why do we need to really focus on our energy on that because a lot of them were never going to change, and
Right.
this world's made up of a lot of different kinds of people. So why not focus on the ones in the front row, like that Brad Montgomery? He is the bomb. So
Did you have people when you started building this foundation who made you feel like dumb idea? They were the guy. They were the guy in the audience with shaking their head with their arms crossed.
yeah, I mean, you've got to. I remember when we were doing the global speaker summit, at first it took a little while to get it off the ground, and I remember somebody on the board of NSA coming to me and they go, the sign of a good leader is knowing when to give up. Just to cut your losses and move forward. And I go, that is a sign of a good leader, and we're not at that point yet. So yeah, there's always going to be people in your path. It's interesting. We just had a dinner the other night um, in the Philippines a couple weeks ago, and there was a lady that was at this dinner that was saying that if you can't measure it, you're not doing good work. And most of this stuff we can measure, but it's just funny how people are set. And a lot of people say, well, you can never make a difference because there's so much corruption in Southeast Asia that you will never be able to get the money to the right places, and so how do we know that I would never give money to your foundation because it's not going to end up in the right hands.
Oh,
And and to me that's good information, saying that okay, we're we're going to have to make sure that we follow the money trail with everything that we do and make sure that the money is spent right. So yeah, so you get a lot of you get a lot of arrows thrown at you, and most of those arrows are teaching moments in some way. Some are just there to ignore and
thank you for that input. I'm going to file that where it belongs.
yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
I'm going to ask you to do something that I don't think you're good at.
Could be a million different things.
uh, could you brag a little bit? Like, what are your successes with this foundation?
um, Janice Stanfield has a song called "I Cannot Do All the Good That the World Needs, but the World Needs All the Good That I Can Do." So when I compare myself to people doing good in the world, it's easy to say, "Wow, I wish I could be doing more." And um, you know, we're not. So it's we have no paid staff. 95% of what we raise goes directly to our causes. We have a $7 an hour virtual assistant in the Philippines that we call on occasion. So we do make a difference. That if you ever donate to us or get involved, that you never have to worry about how much money is going to pay staff, or is there somebody, am I taking money out? I've never taken a penny out. I'm proud of that. I mean, I could take some money out for taxi fare or whatever and start, and I thought, you know what, it's a slippery slope. If I never take a penny for any expenses or any of that, then I will never have to answer to anybody. It's
Mm,
and in my own heart, I know that feels good, right?
yeah.
So when you say, okay, brag a little, I mean, I feel good that I don't do that, so that you never wonder what my motives are. Or, my motives are to raise as much money as we possibly can, pay as little as we can. I'm very proud that we just came off a tour 2 weeks ago. We finished up actually 13 days ago. Um, in the Philippines, and I'm proud that nobody had to pay for any hotels. So to make those, and those relationships become rich because they're involved with us. So
Right.
when I can do that, and some tours we get complete sponsorships, others we get partial sponsorships, but that makes me I'm proud of that. So
Well, let's talk about also your impact. What are you proud of when I say how have you improved things in Southeast Asia for very, individuals who need your help?
yeah, when someone graduates from high school and college, or when someone gets on some of these kids that learn the skills and get on Fiverr, and that's so proud to see their work, and um, and Malaysia, we were involved with a refugee community where we raised a lot of money, and we actually just have one project now in Malaysia because we can go so deep in that project. So to walk into the 4-story school building and see the whiteboards and know that we support the soccer team where all the kids can feel like all the other kids in school because they can get on a soccer field, and we provide all that equipment and the uniforms, and that feels really good to give the kids self-esteem and see them learning and growing and graduating, and then one of the projects we were on this last trip was SOS Children's Homes, SOS Children's Villages. I think they're in like over 100 countries now, and normally we don't get involved in normally it's lesser known homes or communities and like Siem Reap, where it may be a little school kind of thing where we support a community or whatever.
Right.
But SOS Children's Villages is what they do is so cool. I mean, these surrogate mothers, so they never want to split the kids up. So let's say there's 7 kids, father goes to prison or gets killed, or mother, and so they don't have so there's 7 kids. Basically, where are they going to go? Are they going to live on the street? So SOS Children's Home will take them in, and a surrogate mother will become their mother for until they graduate high school, and of course beyond. I mean, they'll
Right.
build that relationship. But we were sitting and we were talking to one of the mothers that has been there 21 years, had 23 kids that have now graduated or gone through her program, and she was just so proud. And she has photos of all the kids on the wall and
Oh,
what they do. And you walk in and it's like, it's like, wow, that's like the coolest thing. I mean, that, here are these kids, where would they be today without SOS Children's Villages, or and then all of a sudden I mean, of all these poor provinces or communities that we're involved with, um, these kids are like taken care of. I mean, 7 kids are going to have a real life and a family that stays together, and they know where their next meal is coming from, and their school is going to be paid for. It's a pretty, it makes you feel pretty good. So it's brings a lot of hope that there's a lot of hope for those less fortunate that need our help. So very proud of that.
oh. Well, wow, that was a very nice transition you gave me because you said the word hope. I ask this every single guest at the end of our time together the same question, which is what gives you hope. And I'm about to ask you, but if you haven't heard this before, this could mean you have hope for like you might get your favorite candy bar at lunch, or it could be very deep, or global warming, or together we can change the world. So here we are, Scott Friedman, CSP, the guy with Together We Can Change the World, an organization that's making a huge difference in Asia. What gives you hope?
I think I just answered the question before the question. I led into the question. I mean those 8 kids of SOS Children's Villages now are going to be able to go to school and stay together. I mean that's hope that there's something good happening in the world, that and hope for to see. I loved when you go on these tours, you see the tour through a first timer's eyes that maybe didn't realize they know what poverty is. They see statistics, but they've never really experienced it
Mm-hmm.
firsthand. To see it, experience it firsthand, and then have that epiphany, like, wow, I had no clue that people were suffering the way they're suffering, or, then all of a sudden, like Tanis Roeder, we both know, just popped into my mind. Tanis came on one of our tours, and, and then it's like, oh, well, we can raise money for this school. We can put another school up in the village. I mean, Steve and I'll take care of this, and they just, or Juliet Funtz, when she brought her 3 kids. It's the first time we've had 3 kids on one of our tours, and Juliet's a good friend of ours, and we went to this AIDS home where these kids, their families have basically deserted them, and they're just, you walk in and they're just starving for love, and we love on them for a couple hours, and I remember leaving that home, and it's so hard to go, and one of her eldest son, Jake, says, we're talking about all the things we want to do for this home, and Juliet's like, we'll, slow down, honey. We'll it takes a little time to do some of these things. And he goes, well, we can do some of it right now. And I'm just like, that I was like, wow, you see people that just get so passionate about making a difference. And that's, I think, one of the biggest gifts of Together We Can Change the World is you get to spend your life with those kind of
Mhm.
people that brings hope. It's like,
Yeah.
wow, you just do your little bit, and then, but you spread the seeds and other people start doing good stuff. So
I hadn't thought about it until just now, Scott, but your job title, at least before the foundation, was motivational speaker. And it turns out you're a motivational speaker when you're with your foundation because you're motivating more people to get involved in a meaningful way. Pretty deep, huh?
yeah, hey, wow, nice, nice. I like that.
That's what we call people a connection.
Yeah, I mean, how they come to get involved. I mean, if we're motivating them to get involved, that's wonderful. I mean, yeah, if we can, the ripple effect, as Lynn Price would say, that getting people involved in good things, and yeah, feels good.
Well, you are the real deal. Is it togetherwecanchangetheworld.org? What's the website?
Uh, yeah, twcctw.org.
Oh, that's easy for you to say. So togetherwecanchangetheworld.org.
Yeah,
But you just use just the first letter of those words.
correct. Yeah, and then we're together, comma, we can change the world at Facebook. You can join our
Oh,
community.
okay. Oh, no way. If you don't get the comma, you go somewhere else?
Yeah, I think there's a few together we can change the worlds out there.
Boo!
No, that's good because they're changing the world. Well, you hope in a good way. I mean,
Is there anything I should have asked you as we close up?
um, well, one thing that you did mention was well, the beforehand with the whole $2 bill tradition.
This is one of my favorite parts about Scott Friedman. Yeah, tell us about the $2 bills.
So, one of the, I mean, I love to travel with. I travel with two things, and one of these you're responsible for. I travel with $2 bills, and I travel with a squeaker. So the squeaker you're responsible for. The little, how do you describe, what do you call
A
it?
squeaker is the kind of toy or it's a device in a dog toy that goes, and if you tear apart the dog toy, you're left with something that fits in your hand that makes that squeaky noise.
Yeah, and then it can turn any situation into fun by. I started. Brad's been given to me for years to bring on, because in some of these countries we serve, they don't speak English. So if you have a squeaker, you can make anything come alive. It's a wonderful way to communicate with kids. Or like, gosh, one of my favorites was we have this project in Bangkok. Good Shepherd Sisters. There's three floors where they design items, all kinds of different items. Um, but I remember walking in with my squeaker, and they were making dolls. These amazing dolls. You turn them upside down, so it's like the uh, Red Riding Hood in the in
Yeah,
the.
yeah,
So yeah, turn
I
them
can
upside
picture
down.
it.
Yeah. Anyway, so I walk in and I just kind of walk over. There's seven ladies in Bangkok that are at this table making these dolls, and I look at it and I go, "Oh my gosh!" And I touch the nose of the doll, and it squeaks. And then the girls are looking like, how'd this happen? So they're pushing the doll's nose, and I'm like, no, no, not like that, like this. And then you push it, and then the next one tries. I go, no, it's got to be right on. And then you show them the squeaker, and they just erupt because they just think it's the funniest thing. And then they go over and they show it to another. They go, oh, let me have it. And I show them how to put it in your hand and how you make it come alive. And so I've had more fun, whether it's with kids or with ladies at a design, or God, I was doing a program in Santa Fe not long ago, and they must have been drunk. These three people were drunk, and there was like this bush with these red berries on them, or orange berries. They'd never seen these berries before, and they're like talking about, oh my gosh, where are they? I'm walking by, I'm like, oh my God, that's a hickleberry bush. I go, I think it may be. it's authentic here to New Mexico. I think it may be the only bush that has berries that squeak. And so and they're all trying it, and I'm like, no, not like this, and then and then I show them, and they thought that was the funniest thing they've
Yeah.
ever. Anyway, so that's one of the things, and so thank you for that. So
Yeah,
that
but let me interrupt here because you added something that is so cool. I've done that bit on stage as like a joke, and I love to play with squeakers and make things squeak that don't squeak. But what you've done that's such an improvement is you. It's not about Scott. When I do it, it's about Brad. When you do it, you hand them the device and give it to them, and now they're empowered to continue the fun, and you're out of it. And that is like pure. To me, that is an example of why Scott Friedman is amazing. You're constantly. It's not about Scott.
oh, thank you. Well, it's
Which
so. I
kind of
mean,
sucks because it makes me look like a jerk. But
no, and it is kind of about Scott because that makes me feel comfortable in any situation, and knowing that I have that squeaker. It's just what I can do with that squeaker is, especially in these where they don't speak English, it makes it really special. But in any situation, it's great. And the other thing is a $2 bill because I can be part of any celebration with a $2 bill. I can celebrate a birthday at a restaurant. I can a bachelorette party. I can all of a sudden be in the middle of that now, honoring the bachelorette with a $2 bill because
so you walk up in a strange bar and hand a bachelorette a $2 bill.
yeah, I'm like, oh, what's the bachelorette's name? And Trudy. Oh, Trudy. Well, are you sure you're making the right decision? Is she making the right decision? Yeah, she's making the right decision. Whatever patter comes out of my mouth at the time. And then, okay, well, then this represents living your life happily ever laughter. That as long as you have laughter in your relationship, whatever it is, it's just I'm, it now gives me permission to. Uh, to be part of that celebration. And so I use it in my programs now. And internationally, it's really fun. Even in the U.S., they're pretty rare, but internationally, um, they haven't seen them, and
Right.
so in your programs, it's fun, and it's a way to brighten up people's lives. And I think my favorite $2 bill story, Stell. I mean, and I've had more fun with $2 bills in the last 20 some years, 30 years, 35 years, 40 years, I guess. Was in Bangkok. I was in Bangkok at Christmas time, and there was a housekeeper that was crying. I was just walking by her cart, and she had these tears in her eyes, and I just, and it was, and not that they even celebrate Christmas in Bangkok, but maybe it's the holiday time. I just had this sense she was probably missing her family at holiday time or whatever, and I just stopped by the cart and I looked at her and I just your parents are really missing you at this time of year, and this represents your parents' love for you, or something
Right.
something like that. And her eyes got really big, and she goes, "Oh my God, I was just praying to God for a sign, an angel." And then within moments you walks up. She goes, "Wow." I mean, it was just, and it was like,
Yeah.
oh, that was cool. So you know that
Yeah.
was so anyway, so it just gives me, like the squeaker, it just gives me permission to be playful and to bring a little laughter or joy into people's lives. So
Well, there's dozens of people who learned about $2 bills from you who carry $2 bills now. I'm one of them. But dang it, I got to step up my game because no one's ever called me an angel. What?
That may have been the only time. Usually it's devil with me.
Well, I remember the first time we were talking about him. It was like 25 years ago, and we were on the road somewhere, and I had a massive case full of props, and I needed to check it with a bellboy. And I didn't have my wallet because I just came off stage, and you said, "Oh, I'll give you a $2 bill. Give this to the bellman." And I'm like, "Yeah, the stupid thing you just told me about." And the bellman lit up like I'd given him a pony. And you're like, "Told you." And I'm like,
It's
"Oh,
crazy.
you were right."
It's crazy how many people collect $2 bills in the U.S. I mean, it's like, oh, and it's always, oh, my grandmother or my grandfather gave me a $2 bill, and they open up their purse or their wallet and they'll pull out an old $2 bill, and it's like,
Yeah.
and it's like, and for me, it's, you give a tip. What most people would give a $5 bill. If I give a $2 bill, it's just I can get away with it at $2 instead of $5.
Which gives you $3 to give to Together We Can Change the World.
There you go.
You cheapskate.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Well, yeah, you're the real deal. I remember early on in this career as a motivational speaker, I heard someone say, "Motivational speaker is my job. It's not my personality." And I loved that sentence for years. And then now, as I age, and especially when I hang out with people like you, for many people, motivational speaker is a personality. You're just like built that way. You're all the crap you say from stage, you actually believe, and that is so good for the world.
Oh, thank you.
That's what makes you special. All right, glad the gonorrhea has cleared up. That was a joke. He does not have gonorrhea. Scott Friedman, thanks for being a buddy. Thanks for being a leader among speakers, but thanks especially for your work in Asia with your foundation. Together we can change the world.
Brad, thank you. You've been a big support over the years, and I remember we did a fundraiser, a comedy fundraiser, and you ended up not being able to make it, and I was going to resell your tickets or whatever it was, and you go, no, just give that to the foundation. And many times you've stepped up and given money, but what I love the most is those squeakers, because it has you have no idea what the difference they have made.
You and I had a source, and I haven't done the work to find another source.
Yeah, I'm getting close to, so we need to find a source, because I always leave squeakers behind wherever I go, because the kids, they love them, and that's like their favorite thing.
I've bought 12,000 speakers in my life, which seems like a lot of speakers, but they're gone.
Wow.
Because they used to come in boxes of 4,000, and I had 3 orders.
Oh my gosh.
And I don't have them.
Wow.
But we need a new box. All right, Scott Friedman, you rock. Thank you for being you.
You rock.
Thanks for influencing me. Thanks for influencing the world. Together we can change this world, especially if we have Scott Friedman leading it. Aww. Everybody be good to each other. Look him up. Cough up some money for this thing. You guys are making a difference. Don't we want those parents or those surrogate moms to be successful? Of course we do. Scott, thank you.
See you, Brad. Thank you. Thanks for your friendship. Thanks for having me on.